Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I came across an interesting quote from Plato this week, which just happens to perfectly go with our gospel passage today. Plato is credited with having said, "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light." Now, the light here can refer to any action or quality in life that it might be virtuous. Having faith instead of fear, not succumbing to temptations, doing things for the benefit of others, not oneself. Being a giving person, not a person always angling to receive something. So a person who is afraid of the light would be someone who does not strive for virtue, but someone who lives in sin. Someone who succumbs to the worst traits in life, being selfish, mean-spirited, impulsive, and impatient. Someone who does not strive towards the light is relegated to a life lived with these subpar standards. You might have seen these bizarre fish that live at the bottom of the ocean where there is no light, and eventually these fish no longer even have eyes that function because since there is no light, they do not need to see. This can also happen to people who become spiritually blind eventually. They live a life so far away from this precious light that they lose the ability to even see it themselves. And what truly is the light for you and me? What does Christ mean when he says, "You are the light of the world today"? We are the light of the world, you and I, because we are created in the image and the likeness of God himself. And unlike anything else on earth, we have the ability to connect with God, the ability to experience God, to get to know God, and to most importantly, pass this connection with him onto others in the world, to spread the light of his love. To show others what it means to live a life that fully embraces him and keeps him at the forefront. Today, true virtue has become obscured by crooked political agendas or messages, and society is reduced to the point of arguing back and forth about what it simply means to be a good person. But for us as Orthodox Christians, there's only one thing to focus on when it comes to being a good person, shall we say, and that is a person who lives a life connected to God. Each one of us has many things about us that could possibly define our lives. My name is Christo and I like football, I like to work out, and I like going to Greece in the summer. And these are all great things in and of themselves, but they would not be the foremost things that define me as a person. The true quality of our lives is directly related to how closely we live life with the light of Christ and spread it to everyone around us. But do we spread this light of Christ? Or are we perhaps consumed with our little hobbies and interests that we focus on, and then we don't even notice the people around us? Or perhaps worst of all, do we cling to these hobbies and interests so desperately that we become so passionate about them and only them that we not only do not spread light, but we spread darkness to the people around us? Take a moment today to think about the things that you enjoy most in life. You don't need to stop enjoying them, but think of ways that you can spread the light of Christ with these things you love so much. And now, of course, before we can spread light, we must first be able to locate the source of light for our own well-being. We must take steps to make sure that the light is growing inside of us. We must feed our spirituality from time to time. Many of our parishioners are in Greece right now for summer vacation, and there's no one who loves summer vacation in Greece more than myself, but there is a special aspect about Greece that we should take advantage of in addition to the beaches and the restaurants and the shops. Last week was the feast of Saint Paisios, a contemporary saint known to many for his relatability and his very practical life advice for all the people that sought him out. And I was very pleased to receive a phone call and some texts from one of our very own parishioners who's actually went to St. Paisios' home in Yanina, Ipiros a couple weeks ago. And while at St. Paisios' home, this parishioner had the good fortune to have a private tour guide by someone who knew St. Paisios and his family very well before the tour buses showed up with the usual pilgrims who come to pack the house and venerate. Now, this personal experience had a tremendous impact on this parishioner. And these are the kinds of experiences that we should each seek out for our own spiritual well-being, whether in Greece or another country on vacation. We should explore the beautiful churches and monasteries out there. We should be able to find that each one has its own history and story, and these histories and stories will teach us unique things about the faith that make it come alive to us. This is how the faith glows inside of us like a nice lamp, and then we can come back with this new lamp of light and spread it to the other people around us. And although the effort to seek this light and spread it to others might sound daunting, we should not think of it that way. In fact, it is quite a simple process, and it should be one that is enjoyable to us. We just mentioned St. Paisios, and St. Paisios himself actually has some good advice on a very simple but beautiful way to connect with God. St. Paisios once spoke to someone who visited him on the power in the simple act of lighting a candle to connect with God. St. Paisios said, "With a candle, we are seeking something from God. The candle, in a few words, is an antenna that brings us into communication with God for the sick, for the departed, forever, for whatever we might want to pray for." And then, of course, this conversation was in Greek, so St. Paisios cleverly drew upon the similarity in Greek to the words candle, which is keri, and antenna, which is kereia. So these two similar words in Greek remind us of the accessibility we have to God through the simple act of lighting a candle. And what a beautiful concept to be able to access the light of Christ with a little physical light of our own. And once we establish this source of light, how all the more beautiful it would be to share it with everyone else around us. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Amen.